Hello everyone, my name is Yashpua and ID number is 20009. Today I am present one of the topic of microprocessor and computer organization is that clock speed and turbo frequency. So clock speed, many times we hear this word. So first I talk about why we require clock speed. So computer speed is highly depend on the how much CPU it uses. So CPU speed, that means how quickly CPU can fetch the instruction. So the CPU speed is depend on major three parts: cores, caches, and clock speed. So one of these is clock speed. CPUs can only carry out one instruction at a time. The speed at which the CPU can carry out instruction is called the clock speed. This is controlled by a clock. With every tick of the clock, the CPU fetches and executes one instruction. In other words, the number of pulses per second generated by an oscillator that sets the tempo for the processor. The clock speed is measured in cycles per second, and one cycle per second is known as 1 Hz. This means that a CPU with a clock speed of 2 GHz can carry out 2000 million or 2 billion cycles per second. Next is turbo frequency. The maximum turbo frequency refers to the maximum speed the processor can achieve using turbo boost technology. So what is turbo boost technology? So turbo boost technology that can potentially increase CPU speed up to the maximum turbo frequency while staying within safe temperature and power limits. For example, the Intel Core i9 processor has a base frequency of 3.60 GHz and a maximum turbo frequency of 5 GHz. So that means depending on the situation, a given CPU may not always reach its maximum turbo frequency, but sometimes due to heavy workload, it can reach at maximum turbo frequency. When we talk about clock speed, the overclocking is always come into the picture. So what is overclocking? So in computing, overclocking is the practice of increasing the clock rate of a computer to exceed that certified by the manufacturer. For example, if you have a processor which has a base clock of 2.91 GHz, so making it run at higher clock rate than 2.91 GHz will be termed as overclocking. That means whenever we trying to boost our clock speed from our base clock rate, so that considered as a overclock. Overclock process starts from the BIOS of the system. Different manufacturer has different BIOS, but in the end they all yield the same product. Also for overclocking, it is recommended that a good CPU cooler be used to maintain the optimum temperature and not damage the part in the process. History of clock speed. So first, the first fully mechanical analog computer, the Z1, that was operated at 1 Hz clock frequency. Second, I talk about the first electronic general purpose computer, the ENIAC, used to 100 kilohertz clock in its cycling unit. In that each instruction took 20 cycle and in and at instruction rate of 5 kilohertz. That means 5 kilohertz multiplied by 20 cycles. That means 100 kilohertz cycle. The next is the highest base clock rate till date on a production processor is the IBM ZEC12 clocked at 5.5 GHz, which was released in August 2012. The CPU Z overclocking record for the highest CPU clock rate at 8.79433 GHz with an AMD FX 8350 in November 2012. So in this graph we can see that the history of clock speed year by year, how the clock speed is increases. In 1975, 1 gigahertz 1 megahertz is the clock speed. In 2000, 1 gigahertz clock speed, and till date 2020-22 we achieved 10 gigahertz clock speed. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you understand all the topic. Thank you.